As we always do with the Guru Sahib's Asisa and the Sangat's Asisa with a Mangal, which is an invocation or a Beinti to Guru Sahib to lead this Katha wherever they see fit and best. And as we do with any Karaj, any task in Sikhi, we always ask for the blessings of the Guru and the Sangat. So we'll start with a short Shabad. WhyGuru Sahib Ji, Santan ki Mahma Kavan Bakhano, Agad Bodh Kichmit Nahi Jano, Par Brahm Mohi Kirpa Kija, Tur Santan ki Nanak Dija, Par Brahm Mohi Kirpa Kija, Tur Santan ki Nanak Dija. Guru Pyari, Guru Swari, Sad Sangat Ji, Gaj Vaj ke Fateh Parwan Karo Ji, WhyGuru Ji ka Khalsa, WhyGuru Ji ki Fateh. So first of all, a huge thanks actually. And a lot of the Sangat voted for me last week for an award. Guru Kirpa came second. So that's not a huge achievement with the Maharaj's Kirpa and the Sangat's Asisa. So thank you for all of you that put effort in to give me a vote. I really appreciate it. So we're very blessed to be celebrating the Jivan, the life of an amazing being whose contribution still echoes within Gurdwara and within Sangat circles today and will echo for many, many years to come. And that is, as we know, as Vade Mahapurash Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji Khalsa Bhindranwale. And I want to start with the idea of the nickname given to them as Vade Mahapurash. And I was speaking to a Penji earlier downstairs who asked, are they related to Sant Giani Singh Ji Khalsa Bhindranwale because of the surname, right? So just to give you context, if we have Sant Giani Singh Ji, who is the 14th leader of Damdami Taksal, before them was Sant Kartar Singh Ji, and before them was Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji. So they're like the granddaddy, if you like. Hence, everyone calls them Vade Mahapurash, the big Mahapurash. And in my slides, you might see VMP rather than MVP. So VMP will stand for Vade Mahapurash. So if you see that shortness, then that's what that stands for. So with Guruji's Kirpa, we're celebrating their Barsi today. And for anyone that's unaware, Barsi means a day of commemoration. So you can have Barsis for many things. You can have Barsis for, in this case, we're commemorating the day that Vade Mahapurash Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji left this world, which is the 26th of June today, right? Again, I won't watch on. 26th of June. And in celebration of their life, there's an account part happening at this Guru Kar. There'll be a Dasam Granth Sahib Ji Pog tomorrow at 6 o'clock. Someone back me up. And then the Pog of Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj will be on Saturday at 5 o'clock. And there'll also be a Amrit Sanchar on Saturday as well, which we'll talk about at the end. And I started with a Mangalacharan befitting of what we're about to talk about. And I just want to talk about this briefly because it will set the scene for what we're about to do. And that is even Guru Sahib, Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj describing the fact that the glory of a saint cannot be described. And they say that Santan ki Mahama means the praises or the glory. Kavan Vakhano means describe. How can it be described? Because they're so vast and they're so glorious. Agad Bodh Kichmit Nahi Jano. Agad means beyond, unfathomable, not understandable at all. And no one is truly able to understand what level they were at. Par Brahm Mohi Kirpa Kija. And then Guru Sahib, on behalf of us, there's a Beinti to Guruji, to WhyGuru, to give us this blessing. Tur Santan ki Nanak Dija. So for these amazing beings, what should we do if we ever get the chance to meet them? And Guru Sahib sums it up by saying, Tur Santan ki Nanak Dija. Get their turi, get the dust off their feet. And also, as you would do the Sad Sangat, go to the lowest place to get the most blessings. So whilst we start, I'll do a disclaimer. I'm not going to get anywhere close to doing justice to Vade Mahapurash Jivani, Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji Jivani. But with whatever Guru Sahib Kirpa does, with whatever Mata Guruji has given me about them and the research I've done, hopefully we'll share a few highlights from their life, look at a few of their buttons, their words that they left for people to live by and think about, and then also think about how that applies to us in today's age as well. Please get involved. If there's any questions throughout, just put your hand up, shout out. If there's anything you'd like to add, because I know there's a lot of people in here that know a lot more than I will on this topic, please do jump in. Let's make it a discussion. And if the Sangat wishes, we'll do an anonymous Q&A at the end, as we normally do. And that can be related to anything we've talked about today, or for anyone that may have any general questions. And I can see a lot of new faces, so if it's your first time, a huge welcome. So let's just start off by this word Sant or saint that gets thrown around a lot. We hear this Sant Baba XYZ, right? And it's important to understand the definition Gurbani gives us rather than the labels we give people. And within Gurbani we hear that Har ka Sant, Har ki Har Murat, Jis Hirday Har Naam Murar. That a true saint, Har ka Sant, Har means Hari, WhyGuru. A saint of God is Har ki Murat. Murat means a form. So a true saint, a true saintly being is the actual form of God on earth. They have got to that level where there's no difference between them and WhyGuru. And we hear this many, many times in Gurbani. Even within Sukhmani Sahib, we hear Nanak Brahm Giani Aap Parmesar. When someone gets to that stage of their Sikhi or of their spirituality, there's no difference between them and WhyGuru. And the analogy that's usually given is the glass of water merges back with the ocean of water. And Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji was the epitome of this. One really cool thing you find with a lot of great Gursikhs, not just Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji, but many, many Gursikhs from our history and even Gursikhs of today, is that they didn't randomly appear. And Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji is a clear example of this. And their family was very, very blessed. But for the even more blessed ones, Guru Gobind Singh Ji or some of the Gurus themselves prophesied these beings coming. So that was the level that Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji was at. And to cast your minds back a few hundred years ago to the time of Guru Gobind Singh Ji, after the Battle of Chamkaur that you may have heard of, that famous battle where 46 took on over 1 million Mughal soldiers. By that area of Chamkaur Sahib, there's a parent called Lamme Jatpura. And Guru Gobind Singh Ji went there and stayed there for 21 days after the Battle of Chamkaur. And they stayed by the village of Akhara, which is still famous in Punjab today, and there was a small lake there, and there's Gamba tree, which is quite a rare tree that Guru Gobind Singh Ji stayed by for 2 days. And at that point, there was a Gursikh couple, a couple that had a lot of love for the Guru's house, Baba Amara Ji and Mata Sevi Ji, and they would bring Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj garam dudh, and they would also serve the Sangat around them as well. So this couple got the chance to serve Guru Gobind Singh Ji. And because of the seva and the love and the faith and the shraddha they had for Guru Gobind Singh Ji and the Sangat, Guruji gave them a blessing. And the blessing was that in their lineage, there will be such a Brahm Gyani, a Brahm Vidya, a great saint soldier who will keep their rat, who will be strict on their Panj Kakar and will be a shining light of an example of a Gursikh within this world. And they go on to say that they themselves will get mukti, will be liberated, and along with them, they'll liberate many, many others. So 300, 400 years before Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji even enters this world, their names have already been written in our history. And it's very important when we think of these great saints to not imagine them as normal people that got lucky or anything like that. And what we'll see, and I'll mention a few other sants as well, these gems have specially been sent down from Guru Sahib at specific times. And we'll talk more about other examples so you can imagine the greater context when we get to it later. So if we think about their lineage continued, Guru Sahib also give a bhajan to that the Loki, the people of Pind Akhada, and they said that Sikhi will always flourish within this Pind. And the Sangat of this Pind will grow to be great saints and great warriors. Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj themselves did Amrit Sanchar, and they all took Amrit. And the grandson of that Gursikh couple, whose name was Bhai Akal Singh, he actually stayed with Guru Gobind Singh Ji after, and was one of the 48 Singhs that got mukti after listening to the whole art, the whole meaning of Guru Granth Sahib Ji, when Guru Gobind Singh Ji finalized Guru Granth Sahib Ji in Damdama Sahib. So one of the 48 Singhs. So this is the lineage of Vade Mahapurash and the prophecy, if you like, of such a great being coming to this earth. Does anyone have any questions so far? Is that sound okay with everyone? Cool. So continuing in terms of the context of these great saints and where did they come from, if we think about their parents as well, there could be a talk on their parents individually. And their father's name was Babarur Singh, and he was a Granthi in the Burma Sikh regiment at the time of the war happening. And he had so much love for Gurbani, he had got to a point where he had countless amounts of Guru Granth Sahib Ji and also Dasam Granth Sahib Ji from memory. And his level of Sikhi was second to none. And it's said that as a minimum every day, on top of his Nitnem Baniya, he would read Sukhmani Sahib and Akal Ustat. Now, to give you context, most Sikhs Amritaris today should read Panj Baniya Nitnem, which takes anywhere between 40 minutes to an hour. So fitting that in before work and kids and all the rest of it, we must get by, right? Sukhmani Sahib can take between half an hour to an hour, and Akal Ustat can take the same thing. So their father, Babarur Singh, would be doing minimum 2 to 3 hours of part a day, but we'll find out as much more. And prior to Vade Mahapurash's birth, before they were born, they actually did a lot of tapasya, a lot of bhakti, and while standing in a lake, they did 125,000 Mool Mantra Jap. So you see the preparation that's taking place for such a being to be born into their house. And also Mata Anand Kaur, their mother, she took Amrit as well. And from the day she took Amrit for 13 years, she would do a minimum of 25 Japji Sahibs and a Sukhmani Sahib every day. Now for many of us, doing 5 Japji Sahibs a day is like, I need to block some time out. But Mata Ji's would be 25 Japji Sahib, cut for cut. And it's interesting, the number 25 comes up a lot. A lot of great Guru Sikhs would always have a minimum 25 or 50 or 100. So I appreciate, we aren't currently at, though I'm not definitely currently at that levels, but if we're looking for inspiration, then we've got plenty in front of us. And I just want to make a quick note on the fact that their mother was Amritari, because nowadays, unfortunately, for whatever reasons, especially within youth circles, there's a lot of talk about, women don't need to take Amrit, or there should be a different Amrit for women, which is nonsensical. So it's important to make that point that just like Mata Anand Kaur did, and many Matawa did after them, the key to unlocking Sikhi is Khande Bhatta Amrit. So please don't get confused by people that are confused themselves. And we've got plenty of examples of women taking Khande Bhatta Amrit, and as a result, taking the blessings of Guru Gobind Singh Ji as well. They passed away when Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji was very young, at 13 months. And there was a plague that was quite rampant in Punjab at the time. So if we look at Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji's early life, what were they like as a child, and how did this whole process start? And even from the day of their birth, we see the immense blessings that were due to come. And it was on the 12th of February at Amrit Vela, 2:30 in the morning. And it was the day of Granth, the day that a new Mahina within Sikhi, within the Punjabi calendar started. And the Mahina itself is very fitting, because it was the day of Falgun. And within Bara Mahadi Bani, which is a part that talks about all of the months in a spiritual lens, the opening pankti of that Shabad are Falgun Anand Uparjana Har Sajan Pragate Aaye Sant Sahai Ram Ke Kar Kirpa Diya Milaye. And even within that Shabad, we hear Guru Sahib talking about a great saint being revealed and the power that these great saints have due to the backing of WhyGuru. See, even the day that Guru Sahib decided to bring Vade Mahapurash was blessed in itself. Also, from a young age, we see this intrinsic wish, desire, yearning for Sikhi, whereas many young kids, just as I did, would be running after sweets or hitting other kids in the corner or something, and not just doing eltiyan. Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji, from a young age, would mimic the acts of a Granthi, and they would get a little table, put a little kapra on top of it, and act as if they were singing on a tabia, and then get little peacock feathers and do Chor Sahib. And then they'd go around the pind and get all the other kids to come and sit and do Naam Simran and do like a mini divan. And then once they're done, they would give little bits of mitha to all the kids as dig. So we see from such a young age, things you can't necessarily teach a child are already happening. So we're going to fast forward a little bit and think about how did they start actually learning Gurbani? How did they get into Sikhi? How did they develop the level of knowledge that they had? I'm going to sit down if that's okay. Sam, is that cool? So they learned their Muharani, which is like your Ura Era, your basic, the beginning of Gurmukhi, learning the symbols. And from the beginning right to the end of Guru Granth Sahib Ji, that whole Santhya, the process you undergo to learn Gurbani, they learned from their Taya Ji, who was Baba Khan Singh, who also was a great Gurmukh. So not just the father of Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji, but also the Taya Ji and the extended family were also great Gursikhs. And just a little bit about Baba Khan Singh Ji, he was a great Raghi and a scholar, and it said that he had the whole of Guru Granth Sahib Ji off by heart. Any Shabad, any Ang, they knew it. Now, many of us are struggling to get Nitnem off by heart, right? Let alone the whole of Guru Granth Sahib Ji. And again, it's just showing us the state we're at compared to the levels we need to be at in order to make the impact, or try to make the impact that these great Gursikhs did. So I'm not saying it to put everyone down. I'm saying it in more of an inspirational way so that the bar is set very high. And by 7 years old, they had done all of their Santhya. So they were a fluent reader in Gurbani, and they were confident Bhatti, which meant they could sit on Akhand Paths and read very fluently. Also, that was Larivar as well. So it's not the way most of us would read Path today where it's broken up. It was all connected, which is a harder version of Gurbani, the original version of Gurbani, which is more difficult to read because you really need to know every word. At the age of 7, and it got me thinking as well that obviously Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji is a different kettle of fish because they themselves had things from their previous lives that were coming into play, and they were born a saint, if you could say. But parking that for a second, in terms of what we should be aiming as 7-year-olds to become, as I'm a parent, my daughter's 1 year old, and many of you are parents, many of you will be parents in the future. If we look at what Baba Roor Singh Ji did before their child came, compared to the Tiyariya we are doing, normally it will be, let's do a baby reveal, all these other kind of things, right? And I'm not saying don't do them, have fun, yeah? We did a little one as well. But at the same time, if all of our Tiyan is going into what kapde are they going to wear, what kind of balloons are we going to get, what kind of cake are we going to get, whereas the Tiyan should be on that stuff, then the child will come out as a result of that environment, right? So hopefully just inspiration for us when we're especially expecting children or in the theory of having children, where our Tiyan should be, and let this be evidence that it definitely pays off in terms of what it nurtures the child with. They also learned Hindi from a local scholar called Mahant Lal Das, and Sanskrit as well. So from a very young age, they'd mastered many languages, all of the languages that you need to be able to navigate Gurbani: Farsi, Sanskrit, Hindi, Punjabi obviously, and so on. And then this was even before they went into the Jatha, which I'll talk about and explain later as well, because many of you might not be quite aware. They learned the philosophical Granths or the Vedantic Granths from their Taya Ji as well. So they did so much before they even came into the limelight, if you like. And it's said that whilst they were going out and doing seva, Sukhmani Sahibs or Akhand Paths, they never took any maya, they never took any money, and they could read 80 angs in 1 hour. Now for anyone that has an idea about reading Path, if you can do 30 angs, any more than that, you'd say you're a quick party. So, and even then you're like, blah, blah, blah. You're kind of mumbling, you're like ×2 on YouTube. But the fact they're doing 80 and it's still crystal clear shows the fluency in which their Gurbani was at from a very young age. And there's a really cool instance that exemplifies this. And they were at an Akhand Path once. And at that point, it's very hard to find Parthi Singhs. And again, if you think of the level then, all of the Sarups of Guru Granth Sahib Ji would have been Ladibar. So it's not like any random Manda could start reading because people wouldn't have known it. Whereas today, generally, anyone that knows Punjabi will have a go on a Akhand Path Sahib. That's a whole different topic. But in those days, it was very hard to find partis. So in the village of Akhara, there were 3 people, 3 Singhs that would do the parti seva. That was Vade Mahapurash, Sant Gurbachan Singh, by Hazara Singh, their older brother, and there was a Nahang Singh by Tara Singh. And they were together once at a local pind in the Duaba area. And Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji finished their role at 4 a.m. and they put their back against the wall to start their Nitnem part, their daily prayers in the morning. And as they were doing their Nitnem, they fell asleep. And as they fell asleep, rather than reading the Nitnem, they started reading the part from where they'd left off in the Akhand Path Sahib. And at first, the other Singhs clocked on and thought it might just be, they're subconscious. So they started listening and they got a notepad and pen as well. And they carried on for 30 minutes. And they confirmed that for 30 minutes non-stop, Vade Mahapurash carried on from the pankti they left off to the roll and didn't miss one akhar. So such was the level of their subconscious, if you like, and how it was attuned to Gurbani. And before they joined the Jatha of Damdami Taksal, which is where they took their learning to another level, it was said that they had done 500 Sahaj Paths. And again, a Sahaj Path, for anyone that's unsure, is when we read Guru Granth Sahib Ji from beginning to end. So an Akhand Path is when you read Guru Granth Sahib Ji from beginning to end, but with no stopping. So Akhand means without any break. A Sahaj Path is when you do it like you could do 10 angs a day, 20 angs a day. You could take your time with it, right? You read and you come back and you go again. They'd done 500 Sahaj Paths before they even joined the Jatha of Damdami Taksal. So again, we're seeing the foundation and how solid it was for them to go on and achieve the things that they did. So now I'm going to introduce another saint to you all. And if you remember, I mentioned the 12th leader. I'm going to go to this slide first, actually, sorry. Sorry, I don't know why I've put this slide so late. Sorry, 1 second, so I'm going to do. There it is. So before we get any further, it's important to understand what do I mean by the words I'm saying in Damdami Taksal. And I'll just give a bit of context because you'll hear the words come up a lot in a second. So Damdami Taksal is I'm trying to think of the English word, an organization, a group, a lineage, if you like, that was started from Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj. And Dam, or Dasmi, is referring to the 10th. And Taksal is a beautiful word. It's one of my favorite words in Gurbani. And it means a mint, not like a breath mint, a coin mint. Yeah? I know some of you ain't brushed your teeth this morning. I'm joking. It's a mint where a worthless piece of copper, iron, metal, whatever it is, goes in, is stamped, and is given value. And Guru Gobind Singh Ji created this name as Damdami Taksal to represent that when someone enters this university, when someone enters this group, when someone goes through this learning, that worthless body that had no value to it, Bella, just as that little coin or that piece of copper did, what's it stamped by? Kadiya Sabad Sachi Taksal, we read in Japji Sahib every morning. Kadiya means to be forged or stamped or minted. The stamp that's given is the stamp of Shabad. So when someone enters this university, when someone enters this organization, they are stamped with Gurbani. And that's what turns them into something of value. So this organization carries on till today with Guru's Kirpa. I actually spent 4 months in one of the branches in India and got to learn Gurbani. There are still people that go nowadays, and you could say there's like little branches here as well. But in essence, if anyone wanted to go and learn Gurbani, this would be one of the best places to go, and you still can now. Does that make sense with everyone? Has anyone got any questions on that before we move on? Perfect. So that's the organization I'm talking about, yeah? So, going back, Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji, let's see who can remember, was which leader? Hanji?
The third.
Sanji?
The third.
Not the third. Not the first?
Who did you say?
So Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji was which leader?
12.
12th, yeah? Okay. That's okay, it's all good. You tried, I rate it. So the 12th. Sant Giani Singh Ji was which number leader? 14th. Good, so 2 after them, yeah? So the leader before Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji, their teacher if you like, was Sant Sundar Singh Ji. And they were a huge source of inspiration for Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji. And that's how they got introduced to the Damdami Taksal. So they met at the age when Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji was 14 in 1915. So nearly 100 years ago this is taking place. And at that point, there were quite strict conditions on who can join the Jatha because it was quite intensive. And they would only let young adults, people that had dariyan, and basically they wouldn't let any kids in. So as a result, when Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji met Sant Sundar Singh Ji and asked to join the Jatha, at that point they didn't have a dari. So when Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji heard that we don't take bache, we don't take children, we don't take men without dariyan, Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji went very, very quiet. But then we see the vision of Sant Sundar Singh Ji come into play. And at that point, there was a mystery, a person building some accommodation at the Gurdwara. And Sant Sundar Singh Ji said, their name was Bhai Mandeep Singh Ji, said, Bhai Mandeep Singh Ji, when you look at this young boy's face, what do you see? And they said, Mahapurusha, I'm just a normal person. Mainu kuch nahi dista, thanu hi pata hona. You're the one that can see truly what's on someone's destiny. You're at that level. Please tell us. And they said, Magar Singh, this is a sign of a great Mahapurusha. So even from the age of 14, 15, Sant Sundar Singh Ji is openly saying that this child is special. And normally, saints walk around the country with 4 or 5 disciples. This young man, when he grows up, will walk around with hundreds. And many, many will learn from him. So from that first meeting, Sant Sundar Singh Ji recognized that this was no ordinary or a teenager. And for that reason, said, we'll take you on. But at that point, Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji went back to their pen and they joined slightly later. And they joined 5 years later in 1920. And when they met again, the question was asked to Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji, what do you want? And Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji said, I want the Daat of Naam. Please give me the Daat of Naam. Please give me the name of WhyGuru so that I can strengthen my connection to WhyGuru and find that true path. And at that point, Sant Sundar Singh Ji said, the only way you're going to get Naam di Daat is by taking Amrit. And again, just to explain that concept, what does Naam mean? Quite literally, it means the name WhyGuru. And in Sikhi, Guru Gobind Singh Ji set up this concept that to obtain or to start following the journey officially within Sikhi of spirituality, we must go to the Panj Pyare and formally receive Naam. So when you take Amrit, you're told to say WhyGuru and Mool Mantra 3, 4, 5 times, a certain amount of times. And in that process, you're officially given Naam in a spiritual sense. So that's why taking Amrit is so important and is something we should all be striving for. So at that point, they take Amrit and then they stay with them for the next 9 years. I know there's a lot of information here. If anyone's interested, I can see Benji writing a dissertation on this, yeah? Vadiya. I can send you the slides after, so don't stress too much about getting everything out. I'd rather you just enjoyed it and were present as well, huh? I know Benji can do 2 at once, so no beef. As Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji starts staying with the Jatha, starts staying with those Singhs and is learning the traditions of that lineage, they have an important experience that highlights where they were going to head. And Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji spoke to Sant Sundar Singh Ji one day to say, when I'm doing WhyGuru Simran, sometimes I have this vision, I have this experience where all these letters and all these words in Hindi, in Sanskrit, start appearing in front of me. And they said, Sant Sundar Singh Ji, what is it like? I don't know what's going on. Some sloks start appearing in front of me. And Sant Sundar Singh Ji said, next time it happens, write it down and tell me again. The next time it happened, they started writing it down. And a voice came to Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji in their mind, saying that you should keep these experiences gupt. That when these experiences happen, as it was happening, a voice came to Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji to say, keep these things to yourself. You don't need to tell everyone about them. and then the experience stopped. So the few words that Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji got down, they went to Sant Sundar Singh Ji, explained the whole thing, and there were a few other Singhs sitting there listening as well. And they were words from the Veds, from the Hindu scriptures, and from other scriptures as well. And at that point, Sant Sundar Singh Ji, when they decoded what was written, they said that to a normal person, the way we understand Gurbani and the way we understand WhyGuru, we sit down, we get a poti, we get a dictionary, we have a teacher, someone tells us how to read Gurbani, then we learn how to understand Gurbani, etc. But to Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji, they're getting anpavi arts. Anpavi or anpav means like directly spiritually sent down, hence the miraculous picture. And they said that they don't need to learn anything because it's blossoming within them automatically. Such is their spiritual level, and such is their background in terms of their previous lives as well. And later on, when Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji takes the leadership of Damdami Taksal, they actually say to a few Singhs about why they came on this earth. And they mention that in my previous life, I learned a lot of vidya, I learned a lot of spiritual knowledge, but I didn't get the chance to teach it. And because when I passed away, I had that thought in my mind, I would have wished to pass this on. Guruji sent me down now to fulfill that desire of mine. Which is really important, because even in Gurbani, we hear that if we die with a desire, we come back and fulfill it. And at that point, Sant Sundar Singh Ji told all the other Singhs that Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji had reached the stage where the meanings of Gurbani are automatically coming to him. And that's what we call anpavi arts. So, spiritually, we get an idea as to where Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji was already and where they were heading. But then in terms of the traditional learning of Granths, of scriptures in Sikhi, from Sant Sundar Singh Ji directly, they learned Suraj Prakash, which is the Guru Sahib's history, which is quite long and is in like 12 volumes, 14 actually, sorry. Bhai Gurdas Ji's Granths, Bhai Nandlal Ji's Ghazlan, and the other scriptures, Dasam Granth Sahib Ji, Pant Prakash, the Gurbilases, Vedantic Granths. Basically, everything there was to learn, they learnt it. And a lot of these are historical Granths or Granths written by contemporaries of the Gurus as well. So in that 9 years, they leveled up their education even more, and they knew everything there was to know about Gurbani and history combined. They were also at that point continuing their bhakti and their meditation, and the Singhs of that time, and Singhs even today, would sometimes go on trips or journeys where they were going to block out days to just do bhakti. Kind of like a yatra, you know, when we go to India, but this was solely to just sit and do bhakti or seva. And they were one of the 40 Singhs that did Sawa Lakh Japji Sahib jobs. So 125,000 Japji Sahibs, which I'm not even going to try and crunch the maths on because I won't be able to do it. And whilst they were amongst the Jatha, before they even became into the leadership, they listened to 4 whole Kathas of Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji. And a Katha of Guru Granth Sahib Ji means when you've listened to the explanation of every Shabad in the whole of Guru Granth Sahib Ji, that's one Katha. So they listened to that 4 times from Sant Sundar Singh Ji. Again, most people are lucky in our lives if we listen to the Katha of Guru Granth Sahib Ji once. They've listened to 4 before they've started doing any Parchar. And in 1929, before Sant Sundar Singh Ji leaves this world, we see Sant Sundar Singh Ji starting to prepare Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji for the role they're about to walk into. And they got Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji to perform the complete Katha of Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji. They would do 13 hours of Katha a day, and within 40 days they did the whole Katha. And Sant Sundar Singh Ji sat next to them and listened to all of it. So if you like, they were giving them the final check before they passed on the leadership of Damdami Taksal. But even that, like, the thing is, as I was reading this, you become desensitized to how crazy this all is, because they're just like facts and figures. But the fact that they could sit and do Katha for 13 hours And it's not like me with a PowerPoint in front of me. This is whatever you've got in here, that's what you're working with on the stage. So the fact they could just do 13 hours for 40 days non-stop speaks volumes. And again, I was just thinking about this in terms of the level of preparation that children were given in those days compared to where we're at now. Now, obviously, this is a big generalization, but I would say we've come very far from those times. And I guess there's a lot of reasons for that. Maybe it's social media that has made us boggled. Maybe it's us moving to the West and having moved out of that bend of life where every child would go to the Gurdwaras every day, Allah. And it got me thinking about how do we start instilling that back within our children whilst we're in the West, whilst they're still getting good grades at school, whilst they're still playing football, whilst they're learning violin or whatever it is. And I was just thinking about myself. I was like, look at the prep that people would do to go and do katha, and you got a pagal banda like me speaking to you and trying to do katha, right? But chalo, whatever Guru Sahib's kirpa is, we all end up where we're meant to be. But I would say the standard has definitely been lowered. But I would also say that with Guruji's kirpa, a lot of Sangat are making a conscious effort now to really level our Sikhi up, and especially for the next generation. So I wanted to open it up at this point, and especially for many parents that are here, or people that are involved with young children, it'd be good to hear your thoughts as to how we make that balance in terms of getting the Sikhi to the strongest level we can in the childhood years. Because once those years are gone, they're gone. The foundation we set in our children at that age will stick with them forever. So whilst getting that balance, but then also making sure they're doing good at school, making sure they're going to their school clubs. Are we doing too much of that? It'd be good to hear people's thoughts. This is the awkward silence. Hanji Benji. Say that again, sorry.
No, I was saying with Giani, there's been more of a rise now with them. So I think definitely using the Gurdwara space to provide the classes and the spaces regularly as well.
Hanji. Yeah, so there's definitely a rise in Gurdwara classes, which is a lot of Sangat are supporting. Any other thoughts from anyone? Hanji Benji.
Maybe if there are educators that we come together and make an actual curriculum for children. So from, like at school you have early years, stage 1 to stage 2, have a curriculum where they not only do they learn Mahani and Santhya, but they're also learning like our history as we're going along. Or, as they're doing their Santhya, by this age, they need to know the meaning of Japji Sahib. So maybe, if lots of us can come together and sort of work on something like that.
Benji's just dug her own grave. Because 6 months ago, I asked her to join our Gurmat school as to teach. So you need to follow that button now. I was just like, yes, bring it. Yeah?
No,
you can make that curriculum. But yeah, that's it. Gurleen number le lein watch. I'm not even joking, that's the funny thing.
Can I just add to that?
Hanji.
Well, I think that, like you said, living in the Western world, we have time to take our kids to football training, violin, whatever else, after school clubs. When it comes to Punjabi school or, Gurmat classes, I'm too busy, So it's how do we change that attitude to get them to the Gurdwaras to learn, rather than them having them children sit at home, on their PlayStations or what have you. So I think it's changing the attitude of parents first.
100%. I'll give you an example. At the Gurmat school we run at Somerset Gurdwara, we changed the timings from 2 o'clock to 9:15, and then like half the kids dropped off. And then it's funny, when you see them at the Gurdwara, the kids are like hiding behind the corners. Like, oh man, Mandeep Bhaji's here, huh? And then the parents are hiding as well. And I speak to the parents like, bacha hai nahi? And they're like, Bhaji, pata ki Saturday line hundi ya, tired hunde. I was like, you what? I go school ke nahi jande? Oh Bhaji, 8:30 baje pahuncha. I go, you got 45 minutes. So this is the attitude. It's like, no, Saturday's the day off. Oh, late sunde ya. I'm like, so go put them to bed earlier. He goes, nahi Bhaji, tu si dasso. I'm like, it's your kid, man, sort it out. Like, what the hell? But this is serious. And I actually get angry. I'm like, this is ridiculous, man. But then, like I said, you'll see the parents of the kids that don't want to come, but they come every week. They're fair and few. But what I'm saying is we all need to be those strict parents Because at the same time, if we give our kids too much freedom, they're going to say, oh yeah, I need downtime on a Friday evening to play Fortnite till 12 o'clock, so then I need a lion. They don't know what's best for them. And I would even argue we need to brainwash our kids. Someone's like, what? Brainwash them with Sikhi. Because I'm going to do some arts now, yeah? Brainwashing is a good thing because you wash their brains. We always think brainwashing is a bad thing. But the truth is, if we don't brainwash them with good stuff, someone will brainwash them with bad stuff. And who do I look at as inspiration for this? Musulman. Yeah? Their kids are on it. Their kids are converting our kids in Sikh schools right now. Their kids go to masjid 5 times a week. Do you think their parents care if they're tired? Do you think their parents care if they had a bad day at school? They don't give a crap. And I respect that. I wish we had that. First of all, we haven't got 5 classes a week at Gurdwara to send them to. But even if we did, there'd be no point because even the Amritari parents are like, that's too much. Oh, Paji, too much. So I actually look at them as inspiration in that sense. They've got the smallest little, like 3-bed semi-detached house, but there's 60 kids in there, and respect to them for it. And as a result, the kids are strong. So I think we need to get a lot more strict. And as a result, our kids will be more pakke. And it's not like we're teaching them bad stuff. We're teaching them things that are not going to only save them, they'll save the parents as well. So it's actually a very good investment for you as parents to get your kids into Sikhi, if you want a shortcut. Okay, we got some, yeah, good. Benji.
So one thing, discipline is really important.
Bit louder, Benji.
Discipline is really important. I look at how I grew up. My mum's a Mondi, right? And she brought me up as a single parent.
Yeah.
She was Mondi. She like raised me like a military parent.
Sick.
Like anything, one thing out of line, that's it. I've got to do however many 50 times or more.
Sick.
My punishment was literally doing blind. Like when we talk about 5 classes a week or for every day.
Yeah.
We've got 1 class. We could do a class for each one every single day. Like for playing sports, we've got a cooking for that course, right?
Yeah.
We've got martial arts.
Hanji.
And even other videos like music, tabla, keyboards. Like we've got everything. We just gotta actually fix up ourselves and actually be like actually work and learn. Because if the young generation, like people my age, can actually do that themselves, the older generation do that, why people actually grow.
Hanji. Baba Singh, repeat the question. Oh, okay. Theek, yeah. So Benji was just, to summarize, Benji talked about her own personal experience as to how her mum was strict, and I think you were thankful for it. Yeah? Hannah? Perfect. There's a few other hands. Benji in the, sorry, I don't need your name, Purple Junni.
So I have a friend who teaches EAL, so English as an additional language.
Okay, cool.
And one thing that she said to me that she's found is that they'll come to school, they'll learn English, they go home and they don't carry it on, they don't practice it. When they're with their friend group, they'll carry
Who are we talking about, sorry?
just students in general.
Okay, okay.
Students who come as migrants or
Got you.
and they don't practice it when they leave that classroom.
Hanji.
So they're not using it, they're not applying it.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. We can have classes at the Gurdwara, but if the parents say it's not carried on through at home,
Yeah.
the kids will learn something 1 week, next week they'll forget it. They'll forget it in an hour.
Yeah.
So we need to have parents coming with them and having maybe parent and children sessions as well.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Parents can come in as well, and it's carried on through.
Definitely. I know a few kids camps have actually started doing a lot on the last day. They do a parent seminar, which is great. Something that we need to do as well. But definitely, you see a very stark difference in the children that come to these classes that have parents on their backs and those that don't. But even then, it's important to understand, even if the parents aren't committed, you don't know what that child's got in them, because we've had many children that just from their own intrinsic inspiration and drive have just smashed it, even though the parents are just dropping them off and that's it, they even come into Matatik. So, you can't write someone off, but yeah, obviously it's a huge help. I think there was one more, Gulleen Benji?
I think it comes from the commitment from ourselves as well. We can't to just want to do everything, and we can't. The classes aren't just going to happen themselves. Like we have to be prepared to put those classes on, and so to give a child knowledge, you have to have knowledge in the first place. So it kind of works hand in hand in that sense. We need to educate ourselves in order to educate the children. So I think that's a big important point.
Definitely, and I guess we're at a weird place because we're like, the ideal cycle would have been that we were well educated in Sikhi, and some of us have been from a young age, some of us haven't, and then that lineage would just pass on, right? But a lot of us are jumping into the cycle late and then trying to play catch up. So hopefully we can start the cycle fresh for our children. Guru Kirpa. Do you have your hand up? Hanji.
I was just going to say, I mean, for us to come into this life, we must have done something good in the previous one. So I think what's really important is for children to have that connection with Maharaj and to maintain that connection with Maharaj. And if you've got the right people in place to be able to do that, they can realise that Maharaj is part of the creation as the creator, and, you know, creators in the creation is within the creator in that sense.
Hanji.
And those things are what's going to last with them for a lifetime and, you know, move them forward, and knowing and realising that Maharaj is always there.
Yep.
And they can always fall back on Maharaj whenever they need to. And those kind of people, I think, who are connected as well spiritually, religiously,
Hanji.
who need to kind of like take the helm and
Step up a bit.
in the right direction.
Yeah, like you said, once our kids know that the support, not just from obviously Guru Sahib is the main support, but even from Sangat is there, that will stick with them. Perfect. Thank you all for that. I'll carry on and we can continue the discussion after. But yeah, it just got me thinking about what do we need to do to try and be a tiny speck of what we were talking about. So when Sant Sundar Singh Ji is about to leave this world, they were sitting in a bungalow and they were on a manja and they said to the Singhs, "Mainu bahar leke jao. I want to see Maharaj's creation. I want to just enjoy it." And they're just looking at the nature and there were a lot of flowers. There's a flower garden in front of them. And at that point, so this is 7th January 1930, they said to Sant Giani Gurbachan Singh Ji, "If you've got any questions for me now, ask, now's your chance." And at that point, Sant Giani Gurbachan Singh Ji asked their last question to Sant Sundar Singh Ji, saying that when we're trying to find WhyGuru, when we're trying to spiritually connect with WhyGuru, is gaining vidya, is gaining knowledge about God and religion helpful? Or should we just try to just do part? And does it help? And at that point, Sant Sundar Singh Ji picked up a flower and they used the flower as an analogy to talk about the formula for meeting WhyGuru. And they said that if you imagine this flower to be WhyGuru, if you want to truly experience it, we experience it in a few different ways, in the different aspects. They said that Brahm Vidya, the knowledge of WhyGuru, so for us that's like the knowledge of Gurbani, what it means, all that kind of stuff. They said that's like our vision, and that allows us to actually see God as we would see the flower. So that's the first sense, to be able to see what it is and detect it. Then they said to actually enjoy its fragrance and have the sense of smell. That's where our bhakti, that's where our simran comes in. So we can't just read about WhyGuru all the time. We actually have to do simran as well, right? And then they said to fully enjoy the touch of the petals and to be able to feel and have that sense of touch, that's where seva comes in, because seva will soften our hearts. And only once we've softened our insides and our mind as well, can we fully touch that flower petal and touch WhyGuru and experience it to the proper level. Because there's one thing, right? You know, when you have a flower and you smell it, it's lovely. But when you go and smell it and you touch how soft it is, then you truly enjoy its experience. And then they said on top of all those three things, to finish it off, you need the kirpa of the Guru. You need the blessings of the Guru. And as I mentioned before, to get the full blessings of the Guru, we have to take Amrit. And I know I've mentioned Amrit a few times, and Amrit can be quite a taboo thing for a lot of people, but I want to hopefully dispel that incorrectness. So just for any of you that aren't aware, I came into Sikhi when I was about 16 with the Guru's Kirpa. Didn't come from an Amritari family, and I grew up thinking, yo, these Amritaris are bare boring. I was kare back here, they just read part all day, they don't look at anyone, they don't bold any. Now, what's wrong with these now, right? But it's quite the opposite. And in every community, you get bad eggs. So if you run into, if you go to a Gurdwara and someone with a pag and dari looks at you in a weird way, don't cast every Amritari as that person, and don't use that as an excuse. Because I remember I used that as an excuse. Oh, the Baba looked at me weird, or he told me off at the Gurdwara, so everyone's like that. Yeah, that's quite selfish if we're doing that, to be honest. Sikhi is the funnest thing. And even within Gurbani, Guruji themselves tell us to have fun. They say, Hasandiya, Kelandiya, Painandiya, Khavandiya, Vichi hove mukt. Hasana was laughing, was wearing nice clothes, was eating nice things. Yeah. Vichi hove mukt. We still get mukti from doing all of those things. So Sikhi is not boring. And what you'll find is that Sikhi gives us the thing the whole year, the world is yearning for, a sense of purpose. If you have a sense of purpose, the happiness comes regardless. And that's what Sangat, and obviously the Vidya Sikhi gives us, the experience Sikhi gives us, is second to none in this world. So don't think taking Amrit is boring, or it's a scary, gloomy thing. It's not. It's actually quite an exciting thing, as long as you've got the right people around you. And this is a great place to be, obviously. And then before Sant Sundar Singh Ji passes away, they gave 3 bachans, they gave 3 final commands to there's about 30 Singhs, I believe, standing around them before they passed away. And the first one they said is that whatever religious order, religious background someone's from, a sadhu, so someone that is well-mannered, someone that is spiritual, have love with all of them. So no matter what religious background or whatever group they're from in Sikhi, or even if they're from a different religion, if you can tell that they're spiritual and they have a pure heart, then love them regardless. Then they said that if someone's learnt less than you, never ask them something outside of their knowledge in order to humiliate them, which I found very interesting. And it got me thinking about, like, why would Sant Sundar Singh Ji say that to the Singhs? Like, they could have said so many things. And maybe one of the reasons was because for anyone that's learnt Santya or learnt Vidya, you know it's a very slippery path. Because when we learn a thing or two, even in the world, right, we get a good exam grade or whatever, we start thinking we're amazing. And especially when you put a religious masala on top of that, it gets even more dangerous, because then you think it's not just like from a worldly sense, from a spiritual sense, oh, I'm amazing, and people want to listen to me, and people want to join to me. So maybe it was that. And when someone gets to that stage, quite often to prove ourselves, we belittle other people. And there are people that do this in Gurdwara as well. There are speakers, there are some kathavachaks that do this. So for me, I was thinking, with the vidya we get, with the knowledge we get, we should always be able to listen, even if someone hasn't learned as much as us as well. And I think that's quite an important virtue. And obviously in a worldly sense, if you're speaking to someone, for me, I was thinking about speaking to children. And I know a lot of parents, the children's telling them something new and the parent already knows, and the parent cuts it off. Whereas actually you should just listen to that child and enjoy what they're saying. I thought of this when that came. And then they said to the Singhs in particular, if you stay together, then you'll stay in Chardi Kala, your spirits will always be high, and there'll be nothing that can break you. And when I heard that third one, I thought of that picture of Sant Giani Singh Ji. Which leader? Number? 14. What leader number was Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji? What was the name of the leader before Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji? Good. Teacher mode coming out. It's good. And that picture for me summarizes the Panth being together. That even when there's an army on its way, they're still laughing and they're still carefree. Okay, so the daily routine of Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji. That's not a picture of Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji, by the way. That's a picture of Baba Thakur Singh Ji, who's a very famous student of theirs. But it's a nice picture of them reading Gurbani, so I thought I'd throw it in. So at 2 a.m., when they would wake up, the first words they would say is WhyGuru. And they would say WhyGuru loudly 3 times. So that's the first thing on their mind when they woke up. And again, I thought that was quite interesting. Like, how many of us, when we wake, I try my best to do it, but sometimes I just forget. Like, when you get up, try and say, WhyGuru, Tan Guru Nanak Dev Ji, so that we start our day with just a blessing to the Guru, from the Guru, and also, Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji, that would be a signal to their assistant, the Guruvai, to go and get the water ready for Ishnan. So they would hear that and they'd be like, okay, they're up now, let me go get things ready. So they would do Panj Ishnan, which basically means they would wash their hands and their arms, their legs, their feet, and their face. And then, so it's like a mini bath, if you like. And then they would do Bhakti for 2 hours. So they would sit and do Simran or Mool Mantar in their bed for 2 hours. That would be like the warm-up, if you like. Then they would have Ishnan, so then they would have a full bath, a full shower for 30 minutes whilst reciting Gurbani. And then they'd spend a long time doing their Ganga, which me and my wife were talking about the other day actually. It's quite interesting. They would spend like 15, 20 minutes just doing their Ganga. And it's said that by doing your Ganga, it actually releases a lot of tension from your head, and also it makes your gaze a lot stronger as well. So I thought that was quite interesting. And then they would do their Nitnem. So we're at about 5, 6 o'clock already. They've been going for 2, 3 hours straight. And then we move on to 9 o'clock. They start Gurbani Katha. So they would explain whatever Shabad is currently, Guru Granth Sahib is currently set to. And they would do that in the Gurdwara Sahib, where they were based. Then they would read Sahaj Path, so they read 50 angs a day minimum, just for their own kushi. And then they would do 30 minutes of Jawhar Sahib Seva as well, before leaving the Darbar to go have their breakfast and stuff. And the Jawhar Sahib I thought was really interesting, because when you have traditionally like a Giani Singh or like a big person, they don't normally spend time doing the Sevava that other people could do, if that makes sense. So you'd rarely see like a big respected person in the Panth, like, or a famous person in the Panth, if you like, doing Jawhar Sahib for 30 minutes. You would rarely see it. But the fact that Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji did that showed that that was their personal thing, their personal seva, that no matter how famous they got, they still stuck to it, because that was close to them. And they didn't let the, even though it's not a little seva, the smallest sevas go, even when they got to fame. And I thought that's important for us to recognize as well, that when we come into new Sangat spaces, we might start off by doing Pandyadi Seva, or like even just hoovering the Gurdwara, whatever it might be. And if Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji can hold on to their original Seva, then we should never think we're too good to do the hoover, or we're too good to do Langar Di Seva, or we're too good to give out Deg, or whatever it might be, right? Things that we think, oh, I can do Katha now, someone else can do that. And I'm speaking to myself as well, as a good reminder. Then, once they've done their Nitnem, so the 5 parts they'd read in the morning, they would then get someone else to sunar them to read the Nitnem parts another 5 times on top. So in total, they would have read their Nitnem 6 times a day. And when asked about this, they said that the reason I'm reading extra Nitnems was to account for when I was a child and for any illnesses I might have had when I was young, for which those days the part wasn't read. So look at the vision of Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji. They're saying that even when I was younger, there were days I didn't do my Nitnem. So now I'm going to make up for them by reading 5 extra every day. You know? Which is crazy. Then they would have Langar, and then they would teach Vidya. So they would teach the Granths, they would teach Santya, they would spend time with the Singhs teaching. And then if it was in the summer, they would have a bit of time to rest. If it was in the winter, they wouldn't have any rest because the days were shorter, so there was less time. Then they would do evening katha, which is normally itihasik, historical katha. Then they would listen to Path every day from a Singh until 10:30. They would also, interestingly, do a Chaupe Sahib after the Rera Sahib every day for the Chardi Kala of the Panth, which is, I know a lot of Gursikhs do that, and it kind of gave me a nudge to say, we should maybe start doing this as well. So anyone that's thinking about it, a great way to add to your Nitnem. A Chaupe Sahib takes 4 or 5 minutes, and if you do it straight after your Rera Sahib, it's built into your daily Nitnem, which is great. And then they would eat their prashada and then go back to sleep at 11. So look at 11 to 2 o'clock, 3 hours every day they're sleeping. And then sometimes they'll have a nap in the day. But they're running off just 3 hours of sleep. Anyone have anything to add at this point, or any questions? I'm just seeing how far we've got. Okay, kind of a third. But what time are we going to? That's a dangerous answer. Would we like a 5-minute break? People stretch their legs, go to the toilet? Are we good to carry on? Just give me hands up for break. No one's put the first hand up. Okay, I respect that, Benji. Anyone else for break? No? Okay. Benji, if you need to, feel free to pop out and come back. That's fine. All right, we'll carry on. Respect for Kakar and Gurbani. So throughout their life, we hear of instances, and the utmost respect they had for their kakar, for Gurbani and for Sikhi in general. And there's one instance where whilst they're having Ishnan and they were sorting their kirpan out, their kirpan left their hand for a split second, and as a result they took it upon themselves, because it hurt them so much, they did 5 Japji Sahibs and then got all the other Singhs to do part for them as well, for that one galti. Now, to put that into perspective, generally when we take Amrit, if any of your kakar, obviously except for your case and your kashera, so that if your kanga drops or your kirpan drops or your kara comes off by accident, generally it's said that you do one Japji Sahib and you do a shorti ardas yourself. If your kashera comes off or your case is if you cut some of your case off by accident, generally you go to the Panj Pyare. But normally it's like do one Japji Sahib yourself and carry on. Sant Gurbachan Singh did 5 Japji Sahibs from Guru Granth Sahib Ji's Saroop, and then got the whole of the rest of Jatha to do part for them and ardas, because it hurt them that much. So that's how pyare their kirpan was to them and their kakar. I know we say obviously that our kirpan is the form of Guru Gobind Singh Ji with us, but then again, myself included, how many of us actually treat it like that? Well, I definitely don't. Not many of us do to that level. And that was really interesting and inspiring to see as well. And then when someone asked them, they said that je sadde paasoo panj kakara di raat chalegi ta sadde paas kuj nahi reha. That if we don't have love and raat, if we don't have a discipline for these gifts that Guru Sahib has given us, then we've got nothing left. And this is something that's quite prevalent in Sikh circles today as well, about raat. A lot of people see this very extreme thing, or your raat is whatever you want it to be. That's absolute nonsense. Yeah, your raat is not what you want it to be. Your raat is whatever the Guru has given us. Because if you start choosing your own raat, then you're basically saying you know better than Guru Sahib. So unfortunately, there's a lot of wishy-washy things happening, especially on social media, where people are saying, oh, you don't have to actually do it like this or do it like that. But if we want to try and stay the truest we can to our Sikhi and what Guru Sahib's intended for us, then the truth of the matter is, whatever your Panj Pyare have said to you, you stick to it to the best of your ability. Another interesting one was that out of the respect for Gurbani, they never used their right hand to go to the toilet. And they only ever used their left hand. They literally kept their right hand clean at all times. And when they had a stroke, their left side became disabled. And they said to Baba Thakur Singh Ji, who was one of their Gurways at the time, Baba Thakur Singh Ji, they said, Thakur Singh, my left hand, I can't use it anymore. Main kriya kive karunga? How will I go to the toilet? And at that time, Baba Thakur Singh Ji said, Mahaburk, ਅਸੀਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਸੇਵਕ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਰ ਲਵਾਂਗੇ वो your sevadars will help you in the toilet. You keep your right hand clean. Which talks about the Nivrata of Baba Thakur Singh Ji as well. And the kind of souls that were in that jatha, like how many people do you know that would help you go to the toilet? So that was the love the Singhs had for each other at that point. And within Guru Gobind Singh Ji's bachans, we have that Raat Pyari Mujhko Sikh Pyara Nahi. Guru Gobind Singh Ji says that a Sikh by name, if you call yourself a Sikh by name, that's not pleasing to me. A Sikh that keeps Raat, a Sikh that tries their best to follow the instructions I've set out, oh minu pyara lagda. And I know that might sound a bit harsh, but my job and anyone's job isn't to make things sound nice for you, it's to tell you whatever it is. And in today's age, as I've mentioned, quite often, and me myself included, we try and adapt Sikhi to our lives where it should be we're adapting our lives to Sikhi. And that could be in terms of the way we treat our case, whether we take Amrit or not, whatever it is. And again, on this topic, you guys might have seen recently on social media, there's a whole debate going about a Singh that put a video up about Gurmantar. And the comments is just mad, like everyone's giving their own opinions. No, you should connect to whatever you want to. You should be allowed to do this, you should be allowed to do that. And nowadays, probably because of social media, but also because I guess we've become scared of offending people, everyone's allowed an opinion. Everyone's allowed a say. But truthfully in Sikhi, that's not how it goes. It's either the people delegated or the trusted Gursikhs have a say, or we go with whatever Guru Sahib's say is. And it's as simple as that. And if we all adhere to that, there'd be so many less problems because there's no room for our opinions. And truthfully, in Sikhi, there is no room for our opinions because the Guru's Sikhi, not our Sikhi. Now, obviously, we have buddhi, we have intellect, we make decisions, but the basis of every decision should be what the Guru's instructions are, not what we think is best, if that makes sense. And I just thought that was important to highlight in today's day and age with all the madness that people are coming out with. And Gurbani says it as well, कि गुरसिख मीत चलो हो गुरु चाली, जो गुर कहे सोई पल मान हो, हर हर कथा निराली. That whatever the Guru says, oh palai manana, you're going to accept that as good. If Guru Sahib says, do your Nitnem in the morning, then you do your Nitnem. If Guru Sahib says, try and wake up Amrit Villa, then you get up Amrit Villa. If Guru Sahib says, take Amrit, then we try and take Amrit at some point. It's quite black and white. Then we go on to some spiritual experiences about Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji. And in particular, the darshan, the visions and the physical meetings, if you like, of the Gurus that they had. And again, this might be a new concept for some of you that are coming into Sikhi. And it's important to understand this, that the 10 Gurus we describe as Guru Nanak Dev Ji up to Guru Gobind Singh Ji, they haven't gone anywhere. Rather, you can imagine all 10 of their forms are now in the form of Guru Granth Sahib Ji. But at the same time, their forms individually are also present as well, which is very confusing, but something very powerful. So, what I mean by that is many Gursikhs that have got to a certain spiritual level will actually have Guru Nanak Dev Ji come and visit them. Will actually have Guru Gobind Singh Ji in a physical bodily form come and meet them. Will actually have Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji come and meet them. So, the power of the Guru and the Guru Sahibs themselves haven't disappeared anywhere. But the first form, if you like, we refer to is Guru Granth Sahib Ji. But the physical forms of the Gurus still exist, and they all coexist at the same time as well. Does that sound okay with everyone? Yeah? I appreciate that I might have gone over some people's heads. Let me know if you want me to clarify a little bit further. And just on that, it might sound contradictory. And it's interesting, if any of you see Muhammad Hijab, you guys heard of him? He's quite famous on TikTok and stuff, right? He's a Muslim preacher, and he always says to Christians, how can God be in a body? How can God be in Christ? You guys seen him, right? And I always think, how can you ask that question when you don't know what God's capabilities are? So the reason what I've just said to you about Guru being in a physical form and then being in Guru Granth Sahib Ji sounds confusing is because we're putting our intellect that is limited on trying to understand it. And the way that system works is beyond our comprehension, which is why it's confusing. But that doesn't mean it isn't true, if that makes sense. Okay. So the first instance was when they just joined the Jatha at Sri Chamkaur Sahib, which is where that battle took place. And they stood in a boli for 40 days and did 125 Mool Mantras. So from 8 p.m. at night to 4 a.m. in the morning, there's a well at Chamkaur Sahib, and they would sit in there. And a lot of the reasons, one of the many reasons people stand in water when they do bhakti so they don't fall asleep. So they, for 8 hours straight, would do Mool Mantra, and over 40 days they did 125 Mool Mantras. And after that they had the darshan, and Guru Gobind Singh Ji came to meet them. And they say that, they were saying to Singhs, that when Guru Gobind Singh Ji put their hands out, as soon as their fingertips touched me, I went into ecstasy and I went into full bliss and I lost all consciousness. They've also had many darshan many times of other Shaheed Singhs as well. So this is a really cool part of Sikhi, that not only do Guru Saiban come and give us darshan, but famous Gursikhs, other saints themselves will come and give you darshan. Just on that note, I can tell you people that live in Birmingham that have had Sant Baba Thakur Singh Ji come into their dreams. So this still happens today. These powers aren't historical. These powers still exist. And there are people that have had Mahapurukhs that are alive today, have been alive in the past, come into their dreams and give them advice, give them direction. And still today, Guru Sahib gives darshan to those special Guru Sikhs that have earned that as well. And that could be us as well. These aren't things that are far away. They're obviously very hard. But if we get the Kushi of Guruji, all within our reach.
Well, can I just ask, so it's not a dream then? So
No.
It's kind of come in the dreams, but it's not a dream they've given them.
Yeah, basically, so the dream is used as a medium, but it's actually happening, if that makes sense. Yeah. And there have been many instances in Itihas where real life events have played out in dreams. So there was a Sakhi, if anyone can back me up on this, I don't know the full details. I believe it was Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji's time, where a Sikh came to Guruji and they did a lot of seva. And Guru Sahib said, ask for whatever you want. They said, Maharaj, mukti baksho, like, please free me from the birth and death cycles. And that night he had a dream where he lived like 5 lives. And then he woke up and he was in a forest. He woke up thinking it was a dream. And one of his children from the dream came over to him and started calling him Dada. And he freaked out. And he's like, I'm not your dad. And he's like, you are my dad, what are you on about? And then they went to Guru Sahib and he's like, Guru Sahib, what's going on here? And they said, you asked me to give you mukti. So you had 5 lives left. I had to settle the account. So I did it in your dream. But obviously there's consequences to that as well. So yeah, these aren't just airy-fairy things. These are serious things that happen. And a lot of Guru Sikhs, like even if sometimes you have a bad dream, that could be something that's meant to happen to you being played out as well. So like some people die in their dreams, like some people are shot or some people are killed or some people break their backs, whatever. Okay, but sometimes that is just a random dream because you watched a horror movie or whatever and you die. But sometimes that's your karam being played out through your dream as well. So it's very interesting. But yeah, thanks Benji. Where were we? Okay. So I'm gonna. But what time do we normally finish? About 9. We finish 8:30. It's 8:30. I'm going to propose, Baban Singh, if this works, that we finish this next week, because I'm not even halfway through yet.
Everyone looks at me like I can't.
Yeah.
Is that like, yeah, we haven't really got to it. We haven't got halfway through yet. Sangha, does that sound like a good plan? Yeah. Rather than just trying to rush it and ruin it now. If everyone's happy with that and with your sisa, I'll give you a bit more, a few of the juicy bits, and then okay, yeah, I'll give you one proper juicy bit, and then we'll finish off and we'll do a Q&A, and then we can continue the rest next week if that sounds okay with everyone. So a few instances of the effect that they had on Sangat when they were doing Katha. So the first time they went to Calcutta, or Calcutta as people say in Punjabi, which is a pind that, a city, that didn't really have much Sangat and the Jath had never been to before. The Sangat really wanted Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji to come, but they would come with like 100 Singhs, so it was quite a big group of people, and the pind would have to cater for everyone. So there's obviously a lot of kharcha, a lot of organizing. And the committee members, they were like, no way, like, we don't even know who this Baba is. And the committee members were like, we don't even have enough money in the Golak to run the Gurdwara. You guys want to sponsor all these lot? And they were just like, Nastik, they were like, no, kadi nahi hona. And then the Sangat said, chal, we as the Sangat will supply all the langar, all the money. And if you really don't want them to come, just let them come for a few days. Do tin din le unhonu alande, and that's it. And they said, chal, theek hai. And when they came with Guru's Kirpa, Sangat came with atta, some Sangat came with dal, kyo, everything, and everything got sorted. And there was so much Sangat that came to listen to Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji that the Gurdwara experienced so much maya that it covered them for the next 3-4 years. And the committee members were like, what is going on here? And they realized the blessings of Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji. And they went to Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji after and said, Mahapurk, forgive us, we were like trying to stop you coming, but thank you so much for coming. We've got so much maya now, we can run the Gurdwara for the next 2-3 years. And even then Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji said, this isn't me, this is the blessings of Gurbani and Katha, this is Guru Gobind Singh Ji's kushiyan. Don't thank me for anything. Tusi jaake ardas karo and thank Guru Gobind Singh Ji. And this is something you see time and time again with Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji. They never took any praise. And even when they were going to a pind once, they sent to Sant Kartar Singh Ji, who is the 13th leader, that Sant Kartar Singh Ji, when the Sangat come and they give us har and they give us the chole and they give us gifts, don't think that these gifts are for us. They're giving gifts to the fact that we are doing Gurbani Katha. They're not giving gifts to these bodies, and don't ever forget that. They're giving gifts to the Guru. We at the moment are just representing the Guru. So that was their mind, that was their thought process. And if you think about like Babbe that are Instagram today, like having chai in fancy hotels in Dubai and paddling in lakes and stuff, you think of that level compared to this level. And even, I found it such a humbling thing that because Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji got so famous, people would always try and give them loads of gifts. So what they started doing, they would always send the Singhs into the bend first. So the Singhs would get all the chole, all the money, all the matiyaiyan, and then they would come about 3 hours later. Because they didn't want any radiyai. They wanted the Singhs to get all the like nice stuff, and then they would just kind of simmer in at the end. Whereas if you look at any famous person now, what is it? Main more hona, meri photo khich, tusi sare piche ho. And this was the master of masters, leading by example to say, I don't need the mehma. If you've got gifts, give them to the Singhs, because they had that much love for the Singhs and they're close people with them and the Sangat as well. And the last one I'll finish with is, probably, if you've heard my talks, you've probably heard this before, so sorry. But it's my favorite Sakhi with regards to Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji. And it's one of the future. So when they were speaking in a closed room with a few Singhs, Giani Pritam Singh Ji Lakhari was there at the same time, who authored a book that I'll reference, that I got a lot of this information from. They started talking about the future. And a few of the Singhs said to Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji, we hear this idea of Khalsa Raj, the Khalsa is going to rule the world. And they said, Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji, kado hoga, wo sama kado auga? When will it happen? And then at that point, Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji said, you don't need to worry about it. And they said, let me tell you about an experience I had that told me I don't need to worry about it as well. They said, when I was staying at Chamkaur Sahib, remember I mentioned to you earlier, they stayed at Chamkaur Sahib, did 40 days job, and when Guru Gobind Singh Ji touched them, they went to ecstasy. What happened as a result? They lost all consciousness, and they just started walking. The body just started walking, and they had no idea like what was going on because they were in that much bliss. They started walking, and next to Chamkaur Sahib is Kiratpur Sahib, and it's a very hilly area. I think I got a picture of, oh no, I didn't put the hills in. And as they went around the hilly area of Kiratpur Sahib, a tunnel emerged. And they started walking through the tunnel, and they came to the end, and this different realm emerged. And as they started looking around, we're trying to understand and fathom where they'd come. They saw this huge lake, a sarovar, and they saw trees, massive trees, and these big, huge beings. And as they're trying to work out what's going on the trees, they saw these huge shastras, these huge karpana hanging off. Like you'd have fruits hanging off a tree, there were shastra hanging off all of these trees. And as they're trying to work out what's going on, one of the beings called them and said, Gurbachan Singh, tusi pachhaniya nahi? They said, they called them by their name, Gurbachan Singh. And they said, haven't you recognized where you are? Haven't you recognized your own people? And as their vision cleared, if you like, they realized it was a massive Singh, 7-8 foot Singh. And they explained and they said, where am I? Is this a dream, or is this an actual realm? Where am I? And they said, no, you're not in a dream. This is real. And they said, look, over there is Bhai Mandeep Singh Ji Shaheed. There's Bhai Taru Singh Ji. There's Bhai Mani Singh Ji. There's all these other Shaheed Singhs that were just waiting in this realm, doing part, making langar. And then Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji said, how is that possible? Because these things, they're Shaheed, oh Sachkhand kya. And then said, look over there, there's a door. That door takes you to Sachkhand. And then they said, okay, please explain what's going on. They said, when someone becomes a Shaheed, they get a choice. Pehle basi, they can go to Sachkhand and enjoy Sachkhand. For any of you that are new, Sachkhand is like the highest heaven where WhyGuru themselves are, right? Which is what we're aiming for. They said, anyone that becomes a Shaheed that still wants to do more seva of the Panth, they wait here. And then Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji said, what are you waiting for then? They said, bas Guru Gobind Singh da hukum. Jadon hukum aaya, fir assi dobara janam le longe, ta raj banaunge. all these Shaheed beings will go back to earth and establish Khalsa Raj. We're just waiting for the green light. And after Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji heard that, they said to Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji, have a look around, because when you leave this tunnel, you won't be able to find it again. So take a good look now and ask any questions that you have. And it's even said that someone threw a barsha into the sarovar and a fruit came out of it, and they actually gave it as langar to Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji, and they said it was a fruit that they'd never tasted, and the anand, the bliss, it was like amrit that they were eating. So this realm, they had really nice food as well, which is nice. And then once they left, anytime they went back, they never saw that tunnel again in the hills of Kirtan Sahib. And that was quite supporting. I can't think of the word. That was quite a relief when I heard that it's not actually in our hands. And just like Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji, when Guru Sahib needs something done, they'll send the right people. Quite often we think, and obviously, if there's a problem, we should react to it. We shouldn't just sit on the couch and say, oh, Guru Sahib sent someone. Because Guru Sahib, in a way, not in the same way as these guys, but they've sent us as well, right? Like, we're here for a reason, so we should do something as well. But when serious stuff kicks off, and people like me aren't the people to get involved, then Guru Sahib sends their diamonds down. Just like they sent Vade Mahapurash Ji at a time. And even before them, they sent Sant Atar Singh Ji at a point when conversion in Punjab was so high, so many people were leaving Sikhi. Sant Ishar Singh Ji, Rara Sahib Wale, all these great beings came when the need arose. Sant Giani Singh Ji came for that battle. And great beings will continue to come where Guru Sahib sees fit. And the last thing I'll finish with is that these beings aren't going to come to any random house, as we've learned from Baba Roor Singh and Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji's Mataji. So if we want these beings to come, they're only going to come to the environment that's befitting. So we need to start preparing those environments for these souls to actually take birth, which means us leveling up our own Sikhi and making as much effort as we can. Because they're all waiting, but they'll only come when the environment's right and when Guru Sahib does kirpa as well. So Satsang Ji, we'll finish there. And next week, I just need to check I can come next week, sorry. 4th of July. Yes, that's good. Guru Kirpa. Yeah, we'll do it. Hopefully, Baba, that's okay with the. Yeah, so next week, just to give you a glimpse, we'll be looking at the seva. We'll look at more instances as to the effect that Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji had on people's lives, how much katha they actually did, and start to get an understanding of it. Their final moments in terms of them passing away, and then also their last teachings that they left for the Sangat, which is what we'll actually have a discussion about as well with Guruji's Kirpa. So my apologies for not being able to finish on time, but obviously these things do take time and it's definitely not worth rushing. So thank you, and apologies if anyone can't come next week. Sorry, we'll live stream it. Yeah, we'll live stream it. So please do join in as virtual Sangat. Baban Singh? Oh yeah, and with Guruji's Kirpa, we've made an exhibition. So a few of the Sevadars have made an exhibition of Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji's life. It's actually downstairs at the moment, and it will be displayed in the main foyer area of the Gurdwara for the next 3 days. So please do come. Check out the poster that's shared on Base of Sikhi for the Barsi. There's a Diwan, amazing Diwan happening tomorrow with Dasam Granth Sahib Ji's Bhog. If you've never been to an Bhog of a Dasam Granth Sahib Ji, you have to come. The atmosphere is absolutely electric, and there's a lot of great Gathavachiks, great Kirtanis coming tomorrow evening. And then also on Saturday, there'll be a great Diwan as well. And as mentioned, on Saturday, there will be an Amrit Sanchar at 11 o'clock at this Gurdwara. If you have any questions about taking Amrit, please come and speak to myself or any of the other Sevadars here. We've probably had the same questions you did, and so don't worry about it. And don't waste time with Amrit as well, because who knows how long we've got. And the last thing any of us want is to have had this gem, but had not collected it. So if you have an itcha in your mind, no matter where you're at in your Sikhi and you think, you know what, I want to take Amrit, don't wait. And even if you're not fully practicing your Sikhi, that's fine. I'll leave you with a a funny story. Bhai Mandeep Singh Ji, who we all know, he got super pumped up when he went to a boss camp, and he said, I'm going to take Amrit. He took Amrit and he didn't even know that he had needed to read 5 parts in the morning. He found out in the Amrit Sanchar, he's like, what? My point being is some people feel I have to have kept my case for 10 years, or we put these prerequisites on Amrit. Truth is, the Panj Pyare will tell you if you're ready or not. If you go on Saturday and you're not ready, the Panj Pyare will say, come back in a year or whatever. But then there's no stress on your head, because if you die, you can tell Taram Raj, yo, Panj Pyare said come back, I'm good. Call them and on a meeting below. That's chilling. Hannah? Leave it in their hands. So I would say don't delay, take Amrit today. And if anyone has any questions, please do let us know. Do check out the exhibition, especially if you're not coming next week. There's a few more glimpses that I'm going to touch on that will explain the exhibition. And also, if you're interested in the Dandami Taksal, there's a huge A0 poster that talks about the lineage of all the leaders, right from the beginning. That was Baba Deep Singh Ji and how it all started, right up until Baba Thakur Singh Ji. So check it out. There's been a lot of effort that's gone into it. And let us know your feedback. Let Baban Singh know your feedback with regards to how you felt this talk. And if there is any feedback for me, just let me know personally, or let Baban Singh know. If the Sangat wishes, we will do a Q&A. We'll have a 5-minute break. If anyone would like to stay for the Q&A, it's going to be anonymous. So that's a chance to ask questions about anything we've learned today, or we've talked about today, or any other general Sikhi questions. No matter how advanced or basic it will be, we'll try our best to answer. So if we don't see you for the Q&A, no problem. Thank you. And if we do, we'll see you in 5 minutes. And we'll finish with a Gurbani Pankti just to finish off. And then we'll Bala Fateh. WhyGuru Sahib Ji Santan ki Mahama Kavan Vakhano Agad Bodh ke Chimit nahi jano Par Brahm mohe kirpa kija Tur Santan ki Nanak dija Par Brahm mohe kirpa kija Tur Santan ki Nanak dija. Saat Sang Ji Phul Chuk Maaf Karna. WhyGuru Ji Ka Khalsa, WhyGuru Ji Ki Fateh. So we'll the Sevadars will bring the paper and pens out, and we'll start in 5 minutes. If anyone wants to grab a drink or anything, we'll go toilet. Oh, did I say? No, I came second. Yeah. For the award, Satsang, I came second. So I think, yeah. Did I say? Guru Gurpat, your Asisa, so thank you. If you want, it's up to you. So Sangat Asisa, thank you.
My mom and dad are like waiting for me, and so I'm gonna go now. But I just wanted to ask, for like soundcare, right? Because obviously it's been a while since I've got like Punjabi classes and stuff like. But like I can read it, but like it's like a very slow speed.
No problem.
I want to start coming like maybe from like next week or the week after that. And it's like I just wanted to know what time it is.
Sundays, Saturdays.
Sunday, because I think that's when Jaspria goes in.